I saw someone claim that just 1,000 XRP could make you a millionaire by 2030. Now it sounds a little insane, doesn't it? So I set out to see if there was any truth behind this bold claim. In the XRP community, the number 1,000, it keeps coming up as a kind of magic threshold, right? I even came across a post saying holding it less than 1,000 XRP is just insanity, if you believe in XRP's future, that is. Now that statement, it stopped me in my tracks. Why 1,000? What did they know that the rest of us simply don't? So I had to dig deeper. Here's the situation. As of late 2025, XRP is hovering around that $2 level. That means that 1,000 XRP costs you about $2,000. Not pocket change, but it's also not exactly buy a Lamborghini and retire money either, is it? However, the predictions of what $2,000 kind of stake could actually turn into by 2030 are all over the map, from reasonable to, well, just downright fantastical. On the conservative side here, some analysts think that XRP could reach somewhere around $20 or maybe $25 by 2030. Now, for instance, one crypto researcher, at least research site I should say, actually floated a $20 as a potential peak. Now, at that price, 1,000 XRP would be worth around $20,000. Turning roughly $2,000 into $20,000 in just 5 years is, well, nothing to sneeze at, is it? It's a solid 10x gain, even if it won't buy you a private jet. But others are far more bullish. I saw a technical analyst suggest that $100 per XRP might happen sooner than people expect, especially as the market structure improves and the next bullish cycle ramps up. Now, $100 per coin would put your 1,000 XRP at a whopping $100,000. Now, we're talking about six figures from an investment that's under $2,000 today. That's the kind of return that gets anyone's attention, right? It's the difference between just paying off some bills and actually changing your lifestyle. And then we have the moonshot scenarios. Some entrepreneurs and crypto insiders, like a pair of startup founders that I read about, have boldly predicted that XRP could reach $1,000 in the long run. Now, if you do the math, 1,000 XRP at $1,000 each is $1 million. So yes, that's $1 million. So just imagine turning $2,000 into a cool $1 million by the end of the decade. It sounds a bit like a crypto fairy tale, doesn't it? The kind of thing that we would see a late night tweet about that you would normally just roll your eyes at. But these are not random nobody no names, are they? They're people who have been in the industry, and they're putting these numbers out there with a rather straight face. You see, believe it or not, it goes even further than that. One valuation model from an institutional analysis, the so-called 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍 and Mitchnick model from, Valhil Capital nonetheless, came out with a theoretical price of up to $4,813 per XRP by 2030. Now I know, that number is so high that it almost sounds a bit like a joke. For 1,000 XRP, that would mean about $4.8 million. Basically, if that ever came true, a 1,000 XRP bag could buy you a few houses and probably a Ferrari or two on the side. Now, I'm not holding my breath for that particular outcome, but the fact that anyone even suggests it shows the level of optimism that some analysts actually have for XRP. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, so with that important disclaimer out of the way, let's talk about why some of these people think that XRP could even come close to those high valuations. What would need to actually happen in the real world for, let's say, $100 XRP, let alone $1,000 XRP, to become reality? Now, the bullish case for XRP boils down to the adoption and the utility. Now, on a massive scale, of course. First off, consider the institutional interest here. Right, the long battle with the SEC is finally over, and XRP is no longer in regulatory limbo, at least in the United States and most other places. Now, this legal clarity does mean that big players like hedge funds, banks, and asset managers can actually consider buying XRP without as much of the fear of getting into trouble. Now, believe me here, they are considering it. I've heard that many fund managers are now looking beyond just Bitcoin and Ethereum for the next assets to list, and XRP is right up there at the top. If even a fraction of their institutional money that flowed into Bitcoin and ETH starts moving into XRP, well, that could send demand and at least by extension, the price skyrocketing. Next, you've got real-world utility. Ripple, the company associated with XRP, has been working for years to get banks and financial institutions on board with using XRP for cross-border payments. If by 2030, a significant chunk of international money transfers, think remittances, bank-to-bank settlements, etc., are being routed through the XRP ledger, then just simply because it is faster and cheaper, well, that alone could justify a much higher price. More usage equals more demand for the token, which basic economics tells us that can drive the price up higher. And it's not just about the payments, right? There's also talk of XRP being used for tokenizing assets too, for stablecoin settlements, and even the possibility of an XRP-backed exchange-traded funds, which we've seen launching most recently. Similar to how we have for Bitcoin ETFs as well, right? So when we have more of those XRP ETFs getting approved, which are set to be this week and obviously going forward as well, suddenly every retirement fund or traditional investor who wants exposure to XRP could just simply add XRP through a brokerage account. Now that would be a game changer in terms of money flowing in. Another factor is the developer and community growth too. Because crypto ecosystems, they tend to have a flywheel effect. When the price goes up, it grabs more attention. That attention brings developers who say, hey, maybe I should be building something on this network. And in XRP's case, that could mean more applications, more use cases on the XRP ledger. That, in turn, could attract even more users and even more transactions, which further increases the demand for XRP. It is a vicious cycle, if you will. Price pumps, more attention, more developers, more adoption, price pumps, and so on, right? Now, the Easy A team, this is a couple of well-known XRP proponents, if you will, basically emphasized this particular cycle in their $1,000 thesis, the idea that success breeds success. Now, let's go ahead and balance all this out with a dose of reality too, because as exciting as all of this sounds, $100 or $1,000 XRP would also require some pretty huge shifts too. Now, to put it in perspective, we're at roughly $2 per XRP right now at the point of this recording. The market cap, is tens of billions of dollars, right? So if XRP went to $100, its market cap would be in the order of $5 to $6 trillion, and that is with a T. Now, for context, that is roughly the size of Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon all combined, or about half of the United States stock market's total value right now. So it is an enormous figure. And $1,000 per XRP, well, we're talking around a $60 trillion market cap, give or take, right? Depending on how much XRP is in circulation by then. So $60 trillion is basically the entire global stock market or the GDP of the entire world in some years. So it's a number that, at least with what we know today, sounds almost kind of unfathomable, right? At least for a single cryptocurrency. And, well, critics, they are quick to point this out and say, come on, there is simply no way that XRP or any coin gets that big by 2030. They argue that these predictions ignore economic realities, like where would all that money come from, and why XRP, out of all of things, would have that much of attention. And those are some interesting points. To believe in something like $1,000 XRP, you would have to believe that not only will crypto as a whole continue to explode in value, but that XRP will capture a lion's share of very big markets, like global payments, or become a reserve asset or something pretty radical. But, and this is a big but, a lot of those critics, they ignore what is actually going on here. People look at market cap as if market cap is some kind of barrier to price discovery. However, and this is really important to understand, so maybe you have to rewatch this a couple parts over if you need to. But basically, market cap is a byproduct of the price, right? The price dictates the market cap. So if the price is $1,000, then sure, you're going to have $60 trillion in market cap, right? But what market cap is and what market cap is not is rather important to understand, because market cap is not a sum of liquidity. It is not a sum of actual money, actual cash, right? It is a theoretical number. It is a theoretical valuation based on the price action. And the price is basically only showing you the last traded price, which means the market cap is only really a macro view of the last traded price. All coins are being repriced every single second, right? That means that if I bought XRP at 10 cents, which I did, and it magically went to $1,000, well, I did not suddenly pay or add in $999.90 extra liquidity. But the market cap assumes that money exists, right? Which it doesn't. It is a theoretical number, not an actual number. So don't think that market cap equals liquidity, because it simply does not. What you need to focus on is the demand and the supply, and how the demand and the supply imbalance creates price action. And price is basically, again, just showing you a visual representation, a notion, a theoretical valuation of the imbalance between the supply and the demand. So what really is going on here is whether or not you actually have liquidity, right? Because you cannot, for example, liquidate all of Bitcoin like this instantaneously and pull out trillions of dollars of cash. The cash doesn't exist. In fact, I would say that Bitcoin's actual true liquidity is probably only going to be probably somewhere in the range of $200 to $300 billion, maybe even less than that. Right? It just shows you that actually there's not that much money circling around here. So for XRP, we have seen the multiplier effect actually happen. We've seen, I think it was $100 million come in, and we saw $10 billion get added to the market cap. Right? And that is quite an interesting mechanic, isn't it? It shows you actually that $1 can equal significantly more for market capitalization based on the supply and the demand imbalances. So don't get too tripped up by thinking $60 trillion market cap is impossible, because it is not. The money does not actually exist. And this is something that critics simply fail to acknowledge. But I would say, personally, I think aiming for $1,000 is probably a bit too optimistic given what we know today, right? Possible, yes. Probable, probably not. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. I mean, this space has shocked me many times over. But I do prefer to be a bit more realistic. Now, I think that many XRP holders would be over the moon with something like $50 or $100 within the next 5 years. And even that will require some pretty incredible things to go right too. So think of 1,000 XRP, or at least is 1,000 XRP enough to build life-changing wealth by 2030? Well, the answer depends on how the next several years actually play on out. It could be enough to, at least if XRP truly fulfills the most bullish scenarios. Even in a kind of moderately optimistic scenario, 1,000 XRP could be worth a pretty nice chunk of cash, right? But it might also not be enough if XRP's growth ends up being a bit more modest. There's no magic to the number 1,000 beyond the fact that it's a nice, round, ambitious goal, or round number and an ambitious goal that many people just kind of rally around. Now, hearing all of this, you might be wondering, what on earth is my strategy? Well, because it's one thing, I guess, to speculate about 2030, isn't it? And it's another to actually be prepared for whatever does happen between now and then. Now, let me just share a couple of personal steps that I'm taking, and maybe you'll at least give you guys some ideas. First off, I'm making sure that I've got multiple options when it comes to exchanges and liquidity. Now, one thing that I've learned from the previous bull runs is that when the price does shoot up, exchanges get overwhelmed. We've seen major platforms go down or even freeze withdrawals right when everyone is desperate to use them. Now, the last thing that you want is to have all of your XRP hit some crazy price and then not be able to actually access your account or cash it out because the exchange is having a few issues or you've been locked out for whatever reason. Now, to avoid that scenario, I always sign up and complete KYC verification on several exchanges well in advance. I treat it like having Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. If Exchange A goes down or halts withdrawals, I can jump over to Exchange B or C without missing a beat. If you've only ever used one exchange, you should probably consider opening at least 1 or 2 more accounts as backup options. It's like not putting all of your eggs into one basket, at least for an on-ramp and an off-ramp. Now, on my website, linked in the description down below, by the way, I've listed all of the exchanges that I do personally use, along with some deals. And yes, those are affiliate links which support the channel at no extra cost to yourselves, of course. I mention this because I want to be really transparent about that. And I want to say a big thank you to anyone who actually spends the time to head over to the website and sign up to any of those exchanges using my links there, because it really does support the channel here. And it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does really make the difference for us. So I want to say a big thank you if you do. I really do appreciate it when people use those links. But more importantly, of course, I want you all to have reliable trading options. And all of those exchanges that are listed on my website are exchanges that I do trust and that I do personally use. Speaking of which, though, I've actually partnered up with Kraken right now to offer you a very sweet promotional deal just for you guys. So if you do sign up through Kraken using my affiliate link that's in the description just down below, and you trade at least $100 worth of any cryptocurrency, excluding stablecoins, within 30 days of opening your account, Kraken will give you $25 worth of XRP as a reward. Now, it's basically a free chunk of XRP just for doing what you were probably going to do anyway. Now, this is a limited time offer, so don't snooze on it for too long if you are interested. Now, all of the details and the sign up link are in the description down below. And it's very important that you do, of course, check out the terms and conditions that are linked in the description down below, because it's important to understand that not every jurisdiction around the world is going to be eligible. And it's probably worth also noting here that this is a promotion that's brought to you by Kraken, the crypto exchange, and nothing to do with YouTube, not affiliated with YouTube or Cheeky Crypto in any other way. So if you're trying to stack up more XRP and heading maybe towards that 1000 XRP goal, hey, get a free 25 XRP gets you part way there, right? And if you do get to test out a top tier exchange in the process, it's kind of like a win-win situation. You see, having multiple exchanges set up is part of my strategy to be ready for anything. But what about growing my crypto stack itself? Well, that brings me to the second thing that I am doing. I'm exploring new projects that earn passively on the side. These are passive earning opportunities that can really increase my crypto holdings, including XRP, over time without me just having to buy more outright. You see, one project that I'm really intrigued by recently, and you guys probably know by now, is Unity Node. Now, it's not a main focus of this video, of course, but it is worth mentioning because it ties into the story of how to maximize my crypto gains in rather creative ways. Now, Unity Nodes is a collaboration between two different blockchain projects, one called World Mobile and the other one is called Minutes Network. And the concept is super cool, right? It allows you to turn your smartphone into a part of a global telecoms network, and you can earn crypto for it. In simple terms, I can install an application on a phone that makes these verification calls to test out the telecoms networks, the signal strength, how the call quality is, whether there's a dead spot, these kind of things. And it basically reports any issues to the World Mobile blockchain. Now, by doing that, the phone helps verify issues in the network and uploads the proof of it to the World Mobile blockchain. And for providing that service, the operator, me, you, or whoever runs it, actually earns crypto rewards. And here's the really cool part, right? It's not some new token that no one's ever heard of that you earn. No, you can actually choose to be earning your crypto rewards in some major cryptocurrencies, things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano's ADA. Most recently, they've partnered up with Polkadot and Shiba Inu to offer those tokens. And yes, that's right, you can even earn XRP by doing this too. Now, I actually went ahead and bought a Unity Node Master NFT, which came with 200 licenses. These are slots for phones, if you will. That means that I can in theory, connect up to 200 smartphones that run this Unity app, and I can start earning rewards from them all. Now, I'm not going to go crazy here and set up 200 phones and manage 200 phones right off at the bat. I mean, that would be pretty crazy and a lot to manage right now. But, it would look like a phone store, I guess, in here, right? Now, I'm going to start off small here, about 10 phones to begin with, just to see how the system works and what kind of rewards I actually get in practice. Now, if it's successful and the numbers look good, then I'm going to scale this thing up. Now, the reason that I'm really excited about Unity nodes is that it's a way to potentially earn passive crypto income by leveraging something that many of us already have, old smartphones and an internet connection. Now, I'm choosing to get my payouts in a mix of different cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ether, ADA, and of course XRP, because my goal is to accumulate more of these assets over time without constantly having to pour in fresh capital. Kind of like staking or mining, but using mobile phones to help telecom infrastructure. I mean, just think about that. How cool is that? Now, here's a word of caution though. As with any new project, you should do your own research. Unity nodes, it sounds awesome. At least I'm obviously bought into it, right? But you should read their light paper and check out their rewards calculator for yourselves to make sure that it aligns with your own personal goals. Now, I'm going to include some links in the description down below where you can find those resources. Now, this concept is isn't completely new to the regular viewers, of course, right? I have talked about Unity in many of my previous videos, but it is still relatively a new venture in the crypto space. So temper your expectations here and never invest more than you can afford to lose, especially with these experimental stuff. For me though, Unity nodes are part of a much bigger picture. I'm diversifying how I get crypto, holding some, trading when opportunities arise, and even earning it through new technology like this. It's all in service of the ultimate goal, building wealth and financial freedom through cryptocurrencies, while managing all of the risks. So, bringing all this back to XRP and our 1000 XRP question. Between stacking my XRP, preparing for the next bull run with multiple exchanges, and experimenting with things like Unity, I feel like I'm giving myself a decent shot at success here. But nothing is ever going to be guaranteed. Maybe XRP hits the moon, maybe it doesn't. So I want to be ready either way. If XRP ends up only at, let's say, $10 or $15 by 2030, well, 1000 XRP would be a nice little bonus. But it's not going to be life-changing for me. However, if the really bullish case does start coming true, if we see big banks using XRP, or if crypto truly does get that mainstream in finance, then having 1000 XRP could turn out to be one of the best decisions that I ever made. And honestly, even if it doesn't reach, 1000, or maybe you don't reach 1000 XRP, any amount that you actually hold and learn from can be quite valuable, right? It's about the journey and the knowledge that you gain along the way. Now, I've seen people start with rather small portfolios and through consistent effort and learning, and yes, a little bit of luck in a bull market, of course, they end up doing very well for themselves. You see, one thing that's helped me immensely is being part of a community. Now, I bounce ideas around, hear about new trends, and get reality checks from fellow crypto enthusiasts. Now, if you're not already in our free educational Discord, then definitely check it out. The link is in the description down below. It's a great place to ask questions, share your thoughts on XRP or any other project, and just learn from a bullish, there's a bunch of people like us, right? Now, we keep it friendly, and it's been amazing watching newcomers grow into confident investors in the space. So, is 1000 XRP enough to build wealth by 2030? It might be. Or it might just be a piece of that puzzle. The truth is that in crypto, today's crazy predictions can become tomorrow's understatements, or it can remain a bit of a fantasy. See, back in 2015, people thought that a $20,000 Bitcoin was impossible, and then we blasted past that. And on the flip side, plenty of guaranteed moonshots just simply never took off. The key is to stay informed, to stay flexible, and to never bet more than you can afford to lose. For me, 1000 XRP is a target. Now, I've already surpassed that personally. I'm looking at new targets. And maybe 1000 XRP for you is a target that you're personally aiming towards, and maybe even aiming beyond that. Because you know what? If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that in crypto, you always want to prepare for, well, the unexpected. Now we know, I should say, who knows, right? Maybe in 2030, we'll be making a follow-up video, either celebrating that millionaire milestone or laughing at how wild some of these predictions truly were. Either way, I'm going to be here for it, and I hope that you will be too. Now, if you have found this video informative, useful, maybe entertaining in some way, do me a favor by smashing that like button and hitting that subscribe button for more stories just like this. And I'll see you all in the next one.